The Shire Wolves are one step closer. Brienne makes her presence felt, and we're under anarchy rules. The Schmoedown Rundown starts right now.
Pluto.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Schmoedown Rundown. Introducing first, Frank Janisch, and the host of the Schmoedown Rundown, Brad Gilmore.
What's up, Movie Trivia Schmoedown fans? Welcome to the Schmoedown Rundown, the official after show for the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. I am your host, Brad Gilmore, joined in Chicago, Illinois, Frank Janisch. What's going on, man?
Yes, Chicago, Illinois. The temperature has ramped up here in the past couple days. I'm not really excited about it, but it is what it is. Funny thing happened to me earlier this week. I was at a screening for a movie, and after the movie I was in line to get my phone back, and this is so weird. And completely unexpected, more unexpected than weird. I'm just standing in line, minding my own business, just waiting, and I hear someone say, "Schmoedown Rundown." And I was like, like in your mind when you think about something like really quickly, but if you said it would take like 10 minutes. In my mind, I heard the word Schmoedown first, and in my mind I'm like, oh, someone must be wearing a Schmoedown shirt around here. I wonder what kind of shirt it is. But then the word rundown hits my brain. I'm like, who would be saying that? Is it like one of my friends here? Is it like my mom? Like, is it someone playing a joke on me? And so I'm peering around, and it turns out it was Abby Friel. She's actually the person who... Remember when we talked about, Christian, you put up that challenge about put all the cut pieces together?
Yes.
The cutscenes? Yes, this is the same person. And so when she said her name, I was like, oh, yes, I know of you. And so anyways, shout out to Abby Friel for saying hello. That was my first encounter of being recognized in public. Ooh.
Celebrity.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now, what did she say
out.
about... What did she say about me?
She said, you do a very fine job.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
There we go. Now there's a point to your story, Frank Janisch. I appreciate it. Well, that's a great story. Chris Clark, how are you doing over there in Pennsylvania?
Oh, it's nice. It's hot and it's humid, but you know what? It's rocking as well. This week was intense. A lot of things happened. Let's rock this sucker, Brad. Again, let's rock this to the end of time.
I appreciate it, Chris Clark. I always appreciate your energy and positivity. I say let's get right to it. There's a lot that occurred this week in the world of Collider and the Schmoedown, and we're going to get to all the news here. I think first up, Frank, we should talk a little bit briefly about the Collider town hall meeting that they had. This is the second one that has occurred, and they've announced several new things, including Collider Quick, an expansion of Collider Games. We're now getting Collider Sports. They've gone deeper into detail about the relationship with Pro Wrestling Sheet. I think that it's a great thing that Collider's diversifying their platform. They're not just going to be known for just movies anymore. It'll be a one-stop destination for all interests, no matter what it is. So what did you think overall?
I think it makes a lot of sense because when you listen to various shows or other podcasts, all the personalities at Collider do, like for instance, Roka and Nos on Top 10 for sports. You hear like Roka will talk about it on his podcast, Sports, and it's good stuff. But now that they're going to have an actual channel as an outlet for all that solely, I think is really cool. And same thing with Collider Quick. I'm very interested to see, a lot of short form videos. And I know it's YouTube, and it's its main thing is short form, basically. These 3-4 minute videos, not necessarily long form like Collider Video does, like 45 minutes, hour. And I'm looking forward to seeing it flourish. And it is funny though that the way we found out, at least I found out, that we were rebranded was through the town hall. It's like, oh hey, by the way, you're on Collider Podcast Network now.
Oh yeah, so let's not bury the lead. We are no longer on SK Plus. SK Plus, Schmoes No Plus is no longer a thing. It's not in existence anymore. We are officially on the Collider Podcast Network, and we will remain in the YouTube feed because we are a video show.
Yeah.
Which was also a relief for me to hear
I was like,
on the town hall.
What does that mean?
Oh, okay, we're still on. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very relieved.
Yeah.
Very relieved.
This is how we
Chris
find
Clark
out
was
our
like,
news, just like everyone else.
Just like normal.
Well, that's what makes us the people's podcast. You know, we don't ask for any preferential treatment. We find out when you find out, and that's how the hell we like it. Unless, you want to clue us in a little bit earlier. I'm just saying.
That's fine,
So, but, I do think that it's a really fun expansion. I'm looking forward to seeing it all. I think Collider Quick is a great idea because I noticed on the Collider video channel recently, I was going to try to find, I think, the Schmoedown or something, and I noticed there's so many uploads, so many videos, this news segment, this little piece, this little segment, this little thing from Comic-Con, this, that I do think that a separate channel for all that isn't the worst idea I've ever heard. I actually quite like it a lot.
There's actually, if you wanted to look, I don't know if many people know this or not, but there is an actual channel, the Movie Trivia Schmoedown channel, and it's just a channel with playlists from all the seasons of the Schmoedown, so it's like, it's a good place where all the videos are aggregated, so it's a one-stop place you can go and look up each season in a playlist, and you have all your Schmoedown videos right there, so you don't have to, cipher, or what's the word? Cipher?
Siphon? Cipher?
Not cipher.
Sift.
Sift. That's the word. Sift. Sift through all those videos to find a Schmoedown.
We sounded really smart just now, didn't we?
God, we're
100%.
Collider English talk coming next. Yeah.
Firing on all cylinders. Unfortunately, we're a Honda CRV with only 4. But let's move on to the news though from the Schmoedown, because this is something that we've all been waiting for and waiting to occur. The Anarchy tournament, when it was first announced that the Ultimate Schmoedown Teams tournament this year would be under Anarchy rules, if you will, we were all kind of like, okay, that's interesting. I'm curious to see what the matchup's going to be. How exactly is this all going to play out? And this week we actually got our answer of who the teams are going to be, and we already know the first matchup in the Ultimate Schmoedown tournament, the Anarchy rules tournament. So I guess let's start with talking about the teams one by one. We got a video or a segment that took place after the Friday team match between World's Finest and the Shire Wolves, and it was Mike Kalinowski, no surprise anybody there, and Thad Williams. They drew names out of a hat, Frank Janisch, to determine, these different teams that we were going to see. What did you think overall? I mean, I know we're about to break them down one by one, but did you like the way these teams were unveiled?
Yeah, I liked that that Thad was accompanied by Kalinowski, or chaperoned, if you will, and they had some good, fun banter in between the pools of the names, and I thought it was, there's not really a whole lot you can do in terms of reveals. I mean, it's not like you're going to have one of those ping pong ball, turn things like you would for like a lottery, which would have been cool.
Oh, like the old NBA lottery style
yeah,
stuff.
just crank a thing and then out pops out a bottle with, or a ball with someone's name on it. That would have been pretty cool, but probably really expensive.
Next time.
But, next time. And I thought it was pretty fun.
Yeah, so why don't we get into it? Let's just talk about the teams here, and I guess let's start at the top. Let's go in chronological order. This was probably the one that Christopher Clark over there, Christopher Rapilio Biscotti Clark.
He gets closer every week, Chris.
I'm getting there. Give me a minute. I'll eventually.
You're getting close.
When I know you for about 5 years, I'll get it. But let's go in order. This is probably the one that he was the most excited about. We saw Matt Nost will be teamed with William the Beast Bibbiani and be managed by Emma Fife. That is actually, I think, a very strong team out of the gate. We've seen Matt Nost to compete in top 10 before. We've actually been criticized for not giving him enough credit when it comes to his top 10 matches, even though I still believe Roca carries the ball for the team. He's definitely the quarterback, but every quarterback needs a good wide receiver, and Matt Nost has always been that wide receiver who's ready on the slant route to receive that pass from John Roca. So I think that this is a nice team between him and Bibbiani. Bibbiani, a man who, by the time they compete as a team, could be the Movie Trivia Schmoedown singles champion.
Very true.
And you have Emma Fife there, who's definitely somebody who has, she's managed Shire Wolves, Sam Whitwer, Mark Andraco, another guy who could be the Movie Trivia Schmoedown singles champion by the time these two play. So I think I like this triumphant here. I like this triangle of action going on. What did you think here, Frank Janisch?
It kind of reminds me. There's really no drop off in terms of like what top 10 was. If you swapping out Bibiani for Roca, somewhat like evenly even players in a sense. It's not really.
Some people could say. Some people could say it's an upgrade
because
because
really much of a difference between Roca and Bibiani. I think their knowledge levels are right there at the same height, and so I think it's still going to be a very good team. And then it's going to be fun to see Emma interact with Matt Knows. We've never seen that kind of interaction. We've seen some interaction with Bibiani, I think, and I think Bibiani being very theater of the theater. Emma is the same way, so you're going to have that in common. And Matt Knows he's just going to trot out there in some 1990 NBA shirt, which will be fantastic, and it'll just be kind of like top 10 still, at least a little.
But
bit.
here's the thing, and because I think that William Bibiani might be, at least in the tournament, a better partner than John Roca would have been for Matt Knows, and this is why I say that.
Okay.
John Roca and Matt Knows, they do a podcast together. Great podcast, Top 10, right? They do the Thunderdome stuff, too, on that channel. They spend a lot of time together. They talk a lot. They probably, when you spend a lot of time with somebody and you talk about the same things all the time, you tend to develop a similar taste in films, right? You develop a similar viewpoint, almost. And when that happens, maybe you like to watch similar movies. Maybe your knowledge base becomes similar as well. Maybe too similar to the fact that your strengths are your partner's strengths. And I think when you mix it up and you got somebody like William Bibiani there who doesn't spend a lot of time with Matt Knows, I don't even know if they've ever even shared a handshake or a hug together. And now they're going to be teamed together. These are two guys who have completely different views on movies, I'm sure, like some similar, but probably also a lot of different films. I think that maybe where Matt Knows would slack, Bibiani would pick it up. Where Bibiani might not know anything about maybe sports films, oh, look who we got here. Now we got Matt Knows to pick up the slack there. I really, really like this pairing. And I don't want to give it away, but I really like their chances.
I mean, it's an excellent point you bring up, Brad. And you're right. I think the discrepancy or the difference in taste, I think, could be a huge benefit to them. We'll have to wait and see. But I think that's a good point that should be taken into consideration when you look at whatever their team name is going to be, which is yet to be revealed. I can't wait to see the team name reveals. That'd be fun.
And they're also former members of the Horsemen.
Yes.
So you have that dynamic. You have that dynamic as well, which makes this team up even more interesting. Just because
that's
what Brad said,
storyline point too.
Yeah, they will complement each other greatly, and it's going to be interesting to see how far they make it, because this one could go. This could be the above the line of the tournament.
I think it's very possible. I think it's very possible. I really do. And, of course, there's the Four Horsemen angle there. But even in the Four Horsemen, if we look at it from a storyline perspective, I mean, there always seemed to be something a little weird going on there. A little bit.
Yeah.
So, how much do they really know each other? They never really
meshed as a
right.
as a faction back then. But so for that to kind of come back up, maybe they play with it, maybe they don't. I don't know, but it is an interesting pairing and one not to sleep on.
It is not one to sleep on. But speaking of the Four Horsemen, now perhaps a member of the Five Horsemen, our next team saw Mark Riley, former two-time Movie Trivia Schmoedown champion. He has been teamed with a guy who we've had on the show, a guy who is in a very great team already, and a man who just had his face placed upon a slice. We talk about Ben the Boss Bateman and Mark Riley are now a duo in the Anarchy tournament, and they're managed by the GOAT of managers, Bobby Gucci, a.k.a. Finstock, a.k.a. Tom Dagnino. This is a great one, Frank. This is another great pairing.
This is very interesting, especially because we now know that Andrew Guy and Mark Riley are going to have a singles match before the tournament. So Riley is going to have to face Andrew Guy and then come tournament time is going to have to team up with Andrew Guy's team partner. Win or lose in that scenario is going to make something very interesting with this interaction. But Ben Bateman's no slouch. Mark Riley, obviously two-time champ, has been to a team title match as well. So Ben Bateman's been to a tournament title match for the teams. So, I mean, there's some good history behind both of these players, and they're both very strong. Mark Riley's one of the best in the first round. Ben Bateman has been working very hard, and he's also coming up the ranks as one of the best players to perform, at least in the first round. And in teams, first round, there's so many points to be had there that these guys can be very scary right off the first round. So this is a great pairing. And then you throw in the theatrics and antics of Tom Dagnino. It's
almost too good to be true.
It is, but I tell you, I think Bateman and Dagnino are going to have something somewhat in common because it's, like, I think we talked about this before, top 10, not top 10, Team Action wants to shout at the system from the live event that they got kind of screwed over there. Dagnino's all about going after Christian and the kind of whatever operation, he's alleging that Schmoedown runs, so they might have a little bit of that in common, so that'll be interesting to watch. And then you have Riley, who's just the consummate professional, and he has an award named after him in the Schmoedown. So the Yodi. So it's going to be really fun to watch all three of these interact.
Yeah, and here's the thing: you have a guy who's a two-time champion, which is an impressive feat all by itself, and then you have a guy who I think is competing at a championship level as of late, Ben Bateman. We've seen how crucial he's been to Team Action, to their ascendant, to them ascending throughout the team ranks, I should say. And that we sometimes can discredit Scott Mance's ability, right? Because we've seen him in Team Trek, and we just kind of think he's this ball of energy who's loud and hates Cameron Diaz. But that's not the case. I mean, the guy is still a very sharp shooter when it comes to movie trivia, knowledge of movies, and to defeat him, especially when his coveted movie release dates category was on the line and used in the match, that's impressive. That's very impressive.
There's a lot.
Ben Bateman and Mark Riley, come on now. And then Tom Dagnino, I talked about Emma Fife. Tom Dagnino was the manager of the Patriots, the greatest team of all time.
Yes, yeah. So there's a lot of experience here. I mean, Dagnino managed champions. Riley's been a champion. Bateman is sniffed, glory once in the team title tournament. So this is a scary, scary team, and when this was the second pairing in this drawing, so it was like, this is what we're in for, guys. The field is deep.
The field is very deep. Now, we get to our next team. And there's a couple things that we actually have to hit pause here before we even discuss the team. Because one of the members of this team was a part of a very interesting and unexpected announcement in the post-match interview with the Shire Wolves, who we're going to get to. By the way, spoiler alert, Shire Wolves won. And this woman, who has been on this show, who's actually appeared on this show in one of its live incarnations, Breanne Chandler, she officially cashed in her championship match from the free-for-all, and she's saying her and a mystery partner are going to go against the Shire Wolves for the team championships that are now been vacated. This is crazy news, but before we even get to that and speculate as to who her partner could be, which we'll do when we get to that match, I bring that up to say that Breanne Chandler has been paired with Devin Stewart. And what happens, Frank Janisch, if she wins in the championship match? Is she now out? I mean, obviously she would have to be out of the Ultimate Schmoedown Anarchy, and Devin Stewart would be without a partner, or maybe Markia McCarthy would take over as his partner. I'm not exactly sure, but this is interesting, and this is not the only team that could be affected when we talk about the team championship match, Frank.
So what you just brought up is what happens if Breanne wins, what happens if Shire Wolves win. between
Right.
Rachel and Clark, right? What happened? So I wanted to clarify this and make sure. So I asked Christian, and he said there are alternates that will take the spot. Now I don't know how they decide the alternates, whether it's random drawing or it's predetermined. I don't know, but it will be. There will be an alternate that fills in the spot for whoever wins the title between Brienne, Clark, and Rachel. So I saw people commenting, well, if Rachel and Clark win, that must mean that Andrew Guy and Drew McWeeny would be paired up. That will not be the case. Their partner will be an alternate then if the Shire Wolves were to win, and the same is the case with Brienne Chandler here. So I don't see Markia being Devin Stewart's partner. An alternate will fill Brienne's spot, and Markia will still be the manager, and then Devin will have a new teammate.
Well, it's going to be interesting, but what do you think overall of the pairing of Brienne Chandler and Devin Stewart?
So you look back at Brienne's before she unofficially left the game at last year's Spectacular when all that stuff went down. She was having a pretty good run. You could see her improvements through each match she was in, and then she just walked away. But then she came back into free for all, crushed the last 5 rounds. Right, she missed one question, I think, or didn't even miss any actually. Right, and wins the free for all. But Devin, in the limited matches we've seen him in, hasn't been the greatest. So I feel like Brienne is going to kind of carry this team. But Devin could surprise. You don't know. Like I said, we've only seen him in a couple matches, so he could come out of nowhere, and this could be your dark horse team of the tournament. But it's interesting though that Markia has now taken a manager role, much like Jay, her manager in the Viper squad. So
Right.
It'll be interesting to see Markia and Brienne, because Brienne was formerly underneath the managership of Jay. Markia is now with the Viper squad. So you have that somewhat of a rivalry, maybe, if you want to call it that. That could come to a head. So that'll be, again, interesting pairing here.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't really know how to quantify this team at all or discuss it in the slightest, because I just don't know. Brienne Chandler, she won the free-for-all, but, sometimes, and I'm not trying to belittle her win at all, but sometimes that's the luck of the draw, right? It just depends on when you come out during the match, right?
Well, for
the person
5
who
rounds, she did outbest Bibiani and Ethan Irwin.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. Don't get me wrong, but my thing is the free for all though is largely dependent upon when you enter, right? Mm-hmm. So let's take that out of consideration. Boom, move that to the side.
Well, I'm just looking at how she performed through 5 rounds, and it was flawless, basically.
No, it was phenomenal. But I'm just saying, she did win. But let's move that to the side. All right, let's just say that doesn't even count. When we go into her career at when she was with Stacey Howard, good team. Never was really able to grab the brass ring, if you will. But good team. But then Devin Stewart, I don't know. He hasn't been the most impressive.
No.
Not saying though he doesn't have a hidden light inside him that has just not shown itself yet. No pun intended. So we're going to see, really, this is a big question mark for me. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. This team is a big
one thing that should not be
big question mark.
One thing that should not be a question mark with this team is entrances. You gotta believe Brienne's gonna put Devin Stewart through some sort of boot camp for entrances. I want to see that. Make that a behind the scene Patreon exclusive. Brienne Chandler putting Devin Stewart through the ringer, getting ready for entrances for the tournament. That'd be great.
It'd be fantastic.
I hope Devin Stewart throughout that boot camp retains his English accent. Moving along
Maybe
to the
she'll
next
beat
team.
it out of him. I don't know.
Hopefully, if we're lucky. This next team, interesting.
Yes.
So I'm going to do this in reverse order. The manager is Jay Washington, leader of the Viper squad. Been a great manager. Has had some good showings as a singles competitor as well in Inner Geekdom and whatnot. Has had good showings. Never just kind of, impressing us to no end, but good showings. And one of his faction mates, one of his stable mates, if you will, Janine the Machine. And we've been impressed by Janine in her debut against Bonnie Somerville. In some of her recent matches, she's been still very impressive in the triple threat at the Collision. She was impressive as well. And I like that Jay Washington and Janine the Machine will remain together. Now, if you told me that was the team, Jay Washington and Janine the Machine, I'd say, you know what? They could make a deep run. I don't know if they'll win, but they could make a deep run, right? We could see some semifinals action for them or something like that, right? Quarterfinal action. Well, maybe.
Great chemistry.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Great chemistry, and we can't undermine that. And I think that the fact that they're both a part of the same team plays well for this team's victory, and so does this other little tidbit, this other little nugget, if you will. The third person in this team, if you will, the other competitor in the team, a guy who did okay at the free-for-all. Just okay. Another guy who could potentially...
He squeaked by.
But a guy who could potentially, have championship gold around his waist too. I don't know. Maybe. He hasn't really shown me that much. He hasn't been super impressive. But we're talking about a guy who's Ethan Allen.
Ethan Irwin, are you fucking kidding me?
Ethan Irwin. Who is
Please
that?
tell me you're joking with me right now.
Oh, no.
Jesus.
Oh, no.
He's not. I think... Okay.
I'm joking. I'm reading his name right here, guys. Jesus Christ. Jesus Cristo. To all my Spanish people out there.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make fun. All right? Let me have my moment.
I just thought you were doing a great job, and then you went too far, Brad. You went too far.
Ethan Allen. He's a great craftsman.
Isn't he? I was gonna say. I thought he was isn't he on the Chargers?
He could be Edgar.
I think he's a wide receiver.
Edgar Allen. What about Edgar Allen?
Oh, is that Edgar Allen? Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
No, Edgar Allan Poe is who I'm referring to, but we're on a very...
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, wow, we're all over the place right now.
We're all over the place. Ethan Irwin is who I'm referring to. Ethan Irwin, Janine the Machine, Jay Washington. Another roll of the dice here, a pick of the name out of a hat, but Ethan Irwin, I mean, all jokes aside, has been probably the most impressive debut we've had this year. Janine is up there as well. I think Janine's up there in impressive debuts as well. Ethan Irwin right now, Rookie of the Year contender. And I think this team together with Jay Washington, brother, now I'm almost convinced we could see these people in a final.
I think this is a very, very interesting matchup. One, because while a lot of people will give Ethan Irwin the edge for Rookie of the Year, Janine's in that conversation.
She's in the convo, absolutely.
And now they're paired up. So basically, everything they do together in this team is going to not really mean a whole lot when you compare them at the end of the year because they'll be a part of the same team. Now, maybe you might be able to point towards someone's first round performance as being better than the other, but both of them are still very good in the first round thus far this year. I actually just updated the stats site, and I did a rookie comparison chart between previous rookies of the year, between Clark Wolf and Rachel Cushing, and compare it with Ethan Irwin's stats. And then actually just a few days ago when I updated the site, I included Janine's stats as well. So you could actually go ahead and look up on the site Ethan Irwin's and Janine's stats side by side just from the singles league this year. And looking at that stuff, you got to be really encouraged that Ethan Irwin and Janine the Machine. If you get Janine from Collision, I know she went 0 for 3 in the third round, but if you give me that Janine who played in the first and second round, and you give me Ethan Irwin, they won't have to worry about a lot of third rounds when they get in their matches. This is a scary team, like for real. And anybody who goes up against them in the first round, it's ain't gonna be an easy fight.
Yeah, I mean, especially if it's like no offense, like a Devin Stewart is on your team or something like that. I don't want to pile on. I'm not trying to pile on. That was probably mean. Yeah. I'm not trying to pile on. I'm just saying it could be slim pickings, if you will, easy pickings. Let's move on, though. You talk about the master manipulator. the man who's pretty much been the star of the show when it comes to the Movie Trivia Schmoedown as of late, KO, the killer, Mike Kalinowski. He was there. He was administering or assisting in the administering of the selection of these teams. Mike Kalinowski's name is selected. And then someone else's name is selected. And this time I'm not playing around when I try to figure out who the hell they are. And that is the name Chance Ellison. Now, before we recorded the show, before we started the recording of this show, Frank, you and I were talking a little bit about Chance Ellison, and you knew limited about him, but I'm going to throw this to Chris Clark here. Chris, you seem to be the most well-versed when it comes to Chance Ellison. You also said that he is an affiliate with Take 3 Productions, which is, of course, where you do a lot of work at. Tell us a little bit more about Chance Ellison.
Well, Chance, actually, me and him have had numerous conversations. He is a fantastic person. He's been on, as I said to Frank and Brad, Take 3. He's actually been on some Take 3 reactions. And he's also, though, the reason why Christian has gotten Chance is because he is the current champion of the Worldwide Movie Games Network, which is a channel that's in association with Take 3 Productions, which is where all of the fan Schmoedown stuff happens, similar in style to the Rundown Schmoedown, but it's on a weekly basis, kind of. So he's basically a big name in that kind of community and stuff. And Chance is a great guy, and he's been called the Dan Merle of the underground kind of community kind of stuff, the online community. So it's going to be interesting to see how Chance does with Mike, because I'm surprised he got paired with Mike, because he's a focal point of story. So he's getting put right into the fire. Yeah. So that's basically it. Yeah.
Fresh out the frying pan into the fryer, he be the music biz #1 supplier, flyer than a piece of paper bearing his name. That actually he had a piece of paper bearing his name. That's awesome. Huh? What are you gonna say, Frank?
This feels like the Fast and the Furious. Chance is Paul Walker's character coming into this this new world, and Mike Kalinowski is Dom Toretto, and he's like, "Come on in, see what it's all about." And everything from the comments I've seen about Chance, like you just said, Chris, he's the Dan Merle of the underground Schmoedown leagues, which I think is just awesome that there's like these quote unquote underground leagues to the Schmoedown. And Christian has, I don't know how this exactly came to be, but Christian has plucked Chance out from the underground leagues to put him into the big show. And I'm excited to see what happens here, because there are a lot of very knowledgeable people that participate in these other fan leagues. And if he's the king of them all, I mean, hell, I can't wait to see this happen.
It's similar to
interesting. And look, and I just want to say, Chris, you asked me if you DM'd me if we want to have Chance on. I said, not yet. I want to have him on after he plays his first match. I want to hear all about his experience being a fan league champion, then to get into the big show. I want to hear all about. So Chance, after you have your first match, we would love to have you on here on the Rundown and hear all about your experience, because you're one of the few fans who have now crossed over into the Schmoedown. I think it'd be a great insight there.
Yeah, and it's similar to how Janine...
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, sorry about that, Brad. It's similar to how Janine actually got into the Schmoedown, too, is because of how she did the reactions, and she was doing good scoring on the reactions, and look where she is now. So if we see fans sort of starting to take over the Schmoedown, that's going to be interesting to see. But sorry, Brad, you can continue.
No. And it's going off of your point right there, Chris. It's kind of like one of the, to go pro wrestling on y'all, it's like one of the indie darlings getting his shot to go up to the main roster and wrestle at, one of the big shows. So Christian Harloff is definitely playing the Triple H or Vince McMahon in this case, and he's looking for talent everywhere. I'm excited to see it. I mean, we can't really say much because he's never been in the Schmoedown before.
It's gonna be a totally different animal. I think from the comfort of your own room, your computer is answering questions, and I'm sure that can be a little nerve-wracking as well. But now you're in a studio with lights, with all these personalities, with Christian looking right across from you, with all these people who watch members, every week. Yes, audience members, lights, cameras. I mean, the whole thing. You never know how someone's going to respond to that. Some people are okay. Some people not okay. We're gonna find out. Mike Kalinowski is certainly gonna find out.
And of course, Ken Knapsack there
Yeah.
will be there to manage, and maybe that he'll be able to focus Mr. Ellison if he gets off track. We will see. Let's move on, though. Jeff Snyder, a man who is, as I look at his photograph, giving me the double bird, which I don't appreciate.
Yeah.
Jeff Snyder, of course, one half of the former team, the Patriots, the greatest team of all time in the movie Trivia Schmoedown. I think maybe Linus Babcock might disagree with me. But, Linus, once again, it's way past your bedtime. You shouldn't be watching the Schmoedown anyway. Then it come out at like 5 o'clock your time. You should be sleep. Make sure you turn your night light on, kid. Sucker.
He's going to be
Do
so
it.
triggered in the
wow.
comments.
Oh my God, this is
Do
like
it
Booker.
now.
I feel like I'm doing a show with Booker T.
Do it now.
Look at his eyes.
Go to sleep,
Look at his
Linus.
eyes. Actually, don't look at his eyes. Don't look at his eyes.
I'm going to zoom in on them.
Linus.
Oh, God. Oh no.
Let me tell you something, brother.
Oh boy. Here we go.
Because you may or may not, in the Schmoedown Trivia Schmoedown, be facing Frank Janisch.
Let me tell you something about Frank Janisch. Oh, yeah. He's too hot to handle, and he's too cold to hold. And when you see him, if you see him in the Schmoedown Trivia Schmoedown, you better run the other way, brother. Because you cannot beat the man known as Numbers.
Jesus Christ. Oh wow.
So anyway, Jeff Snyder, one half of the greatest team of all time, the Patriots, is teamed with another man who could be a champion. I keep using that, but we don't know. Mark Andraco, the android, he could be singles champion by the time these two play, and they're going to be managed by Roxy. Roxy, we haven't seen in a little bit. Interesting.
Just a breakup.
Yeah, since the breakup, we haven't seen her, but she's back in.
Yeah.
I do like the level of play that could come out of this team. This could be a high-scoring team.
And Jeff Snyder, apparently in the crowd, seemed very excited about this pairing with
Yeah, he
Mark
was like,
Andraco.
Yes!
Yeah, he was very excited, and he should be. Mark Andraco's no slouch. Dude is super, super knowledgeable. He's there at the studio a lot, watching the matches, and look, he's in a number one contenders match, and this is a very, very interesting pairing. This could be, again, a lot of these teams that we've seen right now are all very good. All very good so far, right? I think if you want to, the Devin Brienne one, I guess, is a little, sure. But other than that, we're like halfway through, I think, now, and all these teams are great. And this is another example. This might be one of the better ones so far that we've covered right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've got legs. Like the classic ZZ Top song said. They have legs, and they know how to use them. And
That might be a slightly different analogy going on there, but okay.
well, whatever. I'm the beholder, right, Frank? But I think that they could be phenomenal. Let's not forget, they used to be faction mates.
This is true. I totally forgot about the Lions Den connection there. Although, I mean, how yeah, I don't know, because Mark Andraco never really. I mean, Mark Andraco can really shout down Jeff Snyder if he wants to. There's no.
Right.
I mean, Mark Andraco is one of the best talkers in the league, really, if you really think about it. And then you got Roxy, which is interesting. I mean, like, where's the connection? Like, that she fits into this, I don't know if she has any previous relationships with Snyder or Andraco, if they've had any run-ins. So it's going to be interesting to see how Roxy handles this team.
Well, let's move along to our ninth team, it seems. This is great.
Oh, this is amazing. Oh,
Very few things, just make you grin ear to ear by just hearing a name. There are very few names that do that. You might hear Mickey Mouse, and it might make you happy inside. Or,
That's a great
whomever
example.
else. Yes, whomever else. Chris Clark, some of us like Disney World.
I
and
mean,
Disney.
I love Mickey Mouse, but I don't know if he makes me okay. But yeah,
Think if you were a child. Think if you were like 6 or 7,
Oh, that's
like
true.
Linus Babcock, you know, and you hear Disney, you hear Mickey Mouse. You get in a good mood. You smile.
MICKEY
K-E-Y M-O-U-S-E. Yeah, that's right. So you might smile at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might smile at that. And when I hear Josh McCouga, you know, I kind of, smirk
Perk
to
up?
myself. I said
Perk up?
perk up. I kind of a little smirk going on. And then when I hear Elliot Dewberry.
By the way, Josh McCouga for Jeopardy. Hashtag get on that train. Make the movement happen.
I don't know if I'm there yet, but we got years. We got a couple years for me to
You
get.
just tanked this show, Brad.
Oh my
You
God,
I'm there
Brad.
yet.
tanked the show. We
be
gotta
honest
call
with
Christian. We gotta get this guy off the show. He's not.
be honest with you.
He's not about this business.
Can
Okay.
I just say I love Alex Trebek so much. When I say I'm not there yet, I don't think that he's going anywhere.
Well,
I
2020,
think
okay.
I think he's going to be way past 2020. That guy's going to retire and be buried on the Jeopardy stage. But anyway, and if Josh McCouga's up for it, by all means, Josh McCouga hashtag
Okay.
2050,
All right.
or whatever it is. But I'm just saying,
Then we'll let it slide.
Elliot Dewberry is another name that makes you smile. Then when you find out the Wild Berries are together in the Schmoedown Team Anarchy Tournament, this is just incredible. I mean, it's almost unbelievable.
They gotta win a match. They have to win a match.
They have to win the whole thing.
Well,
I
yes.
keep changing my
I'm just-
pick. New pick.
New pick. Yeah.
Dewberry.
It would be complete
McCouga.
anarchy if they did win the damn tournament. I mean,
Hey,
they
Andrew Guy beat Dan Merle.
This is true. This is true.
True.
And look at Ricky Haberg is coming back to into the picture with Elliot Dewberry. They had a pretty bitter breakup, etc. Elliot Dewberry
Yeah.
and Ricky Haberg.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens here because Josh McCouga is basically Elliot's new BFF, replacing Ricky. I don't know if replace is the right word, but so there may be some animosity. What if Ricky tries to break up the Wildberries?
It could happen.
It could happen.
See, this is the one thing that frightens me is Ricky being back in the picture. We know, of course, Ricky, one of the all-time greats when it comes to singles play and team play.
You said
no
that with like
surprise there.
nearly a straight face. That's impressive.
I almost got through it.
Yeah.
And but I like the dichotomy here, and I'm interested to see story-wise how this could progress. But look at this one. Let's just go to this one here. We talked about him just a couple seconds ago. Andrew Guy.
Ooh, your guy.
My guy, Andrew
Your guy.
Guy.
Yeah.
Future singles champion. Andrew Guy. Andrew Guy. Hashtag Guy for Jeopardy 2020. Andrew Guy has been teamed with Rachel Cushing.
Potentially, yes.
Yes, potentially.
Holy crap. And they're managed by the captain, Robert Meyer Burnett.
Boom.
Like, come on. I
Excellence
love
himself,
this team.
yes.
This is so great.
I love this team. Now, the only thing is, will this team make it to the tournament?
Right.
Because Rachel Cushing is another one, who's a part of the Shire Wolves. Shire Wolves have a championship shot. I would say, no matter who Breanne Chandler's partner is, Shire Wolves are probably the favorites. Shire Wolves were probably the favorites to dethrone Above the Line. Shire Wolves could have been the favorites to dethrone the Patriots. They're a fantastic team, so they could be the champions. So Andrew Guy may not team with Rachel Cushing, but if he does, this is another team. There, you talk about it, Frank, but team after team after team after team, we are seeing excellent pairings.
Very excellent pairings, and this is a credit to how deep the talent is in the Schmoedown. And for really, there's really no like one team that is like this one's gonna walk all over people. It's just all these teams are great. It's gonna be tough sledding through this whole tournament. I feel like. Now, if this team does come to fruition, it's gonna be very bittersweet because that means Shire Wolves will have lost. But man, if this pairing happens, I don't know what to think. And then you got Robert Meyer Burnett as the manager. Chris I mean, this is one of your guys.
This is your guy, Chris. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I need you to give me a
This
I
is-
need you to give me a
yeah.
Chris-gasm real quick.
Well, it's going to be a Chris Gasm because actually Robert means a little bit more to me than Bibbs does because of how far I
Oh my
go back
goodness,
with
I
him.
can't believe you let Bibbs hear that.
Yeah,
Wait.
no,
Wait.
no, but
Wait.
Bibbs, close your ears. Oh my
oh god, yeah.
What did you just say?
Well, Rob is like Bibbs is my favorite competitor, but Rob I've had admiration for since I was a kid with Free Enterprise. But the thing is
Runs
with
deep.
Yeah, it runs deep. The thing is with this though is that even if let's say Rachel Cushing loses, okay, I mean gets the championship and she is out of the tournament, this could be an exception for Christian to where that the manager should team with Andrew Guy to make a bit of an interesting pairing. Does that make sense? Because Andrew and Rob would be so entertaining objectively. It would be objectively entertaining. So if you do lose the Rachel aspect, I would actually bump Rob as his partner and just do it like that, unless you want to bring somebody else in and it's a surprise person, but you're not guaranteed the chemistry, you're not guaranteed the
Right.
stage presence of Andrew Guy, and you get that as a good foil with Rachel, but you'll get that even better
Right.
with Rob if in the case that Rachel gets the championship. So I think it's a win-win situation for this pairing, if that makes sense. But yeah,
Well, I like where your head's at, Chris. But
I know.
if Shire Wolves wins, and I like to think that they would,
yeah,
you know who I would love in this spot?
go for it.
Jason Inman.
Oh, totally too.
Can
That
you
would work.
imagine these two together? Inman's all about the justice. Andrew Guy is basically a prick in the Schmoedown, and just them head to head.
It would be great.
It'd be
And you get that dynamic with Rob too because of
Yeah.
their relationship. So it would be great. It would be awesome.
It'd be oh my gosh, yeah.
It would be great.
I would like it. You know, if I had to like throw a dark horse in there as to who I would like to, if Rachel Cushing becomes champion and we need an alternate, not saying this would ever happen, but I'm just talking about for comedic purposes only. A great teammate who, you know, has some movie trivia Schmoedown experience, has some knowledge. I would like to see Andrew Guy and Freddie Prinze Jr.
Hey,
Imagine
hey,
them
luck with
together.
Hey.
I'm just saying, imagine them together.
Great.
That would be so much fun.
Because, like, Freddy's, like, super zen, and then
Right.
Andrew Guy is, like, off the wall, just
Right.
knocking over stages and
Right.
Yeah.
throwing canes
Not
in people's faces.
not respecting his elders.
Right, yeah.
Freddie Prinze, somewhat of an elder statesman when it comes to the entertainment world. I would like to see that match. I mean, I'm not saying it would happen,
Right,
but I just
right.
like it.
It would be
You know, in
interesting to
fantasy
have
booking.
some celebrity as an alternate. That would be pretty.
Kevin
that'd be
Smith?
pretty crazy.
Maybe even
Dude.
Kevin Smith, Sam Whitwer, you know. Maybe
Well, not
Sam
Whitwer,
could.
no,
Woodward
Whitwer,
would
not
probably be
Whitwer,
out of
but-
the question, but yeah.
All right, he's doing some space right now. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah,
Excuse my language. Edit that, Chris. Censor me. I like
I'll bleep-
beeps.
Just bleep it.
I'll
Just
beep it.
Beeps are funnier. Beeps are funnier than.
It's a clown horn.
I like it.
Gotta put
I like
one
it.
of those JTE repeats logos over his mouth. when he
Over
says
my
it.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
This is gonna
I
be
like
funny.
that. All right, he's doing some space right now. Okay, whatever. But you know, a celebrity alternate
Wait,
could be
just-
fun.
I'm sorry. Instead of a beep, just put have him say Geppetto. Just Geppetto.
And I'll just cut to a sound clip. Thank you, guys.
All right, he's doing some space right now. Okay, whatever. Back on track. Let's move on, though. Let's talk about Winston Marshall and Stacey Howard, managed by Coy Jandrew. I think another interesting pairing, but Stacey Howard, great competitor. I think at times we say she's underrated, and I think sometimes we say she's so much of the time when we say she's underrated, I think that it has the ability to make her overrated, if that makes any sense. If everyone's always saying, "Oh, you got to watch out for Stacey. You got to watch out for Stacey. You got to
You
watch
do.
out for Stacey. You got to watch out for Stacey." Sometimes you might inflate expectations there, but I think Stacey Howard is a quality competitor. And then Winston Marshall, we just saw him this week. They had an opportunity to earn a championship match, came up short against the Shire Wolves, but still, Winston Marshall, I don't know, at least from what we've seen, almost positioned as the second banana in World's Finest.
Yeah.
We talk about Eric Zipper, so I like this pairing, though. You know, you almost talk about the second fiddles for both of their teams, you know, in a way. Like a lot of times, Breanne Chandler, I thought,
Sure.
took center stage, and then Eric Zipper's been taking center stage. So maybe they can find some camaraderie there. And and when I say that, I don't mean like as far as their ability or their level of play
Right.
was subpar to their opponent. I'm just talking about when you look at positioning. And then Coy Jandrew, one of the Inner Geekdom's top competitors, managing.
Again with a straight face, incredible.
Managing. I'm excited. I think this is a dark horse team, but we do know that they have a mighty big challenge out of the gate. The only match that we
God.
do know
Yeah.
from the Schmoedown Anarchy tournament. So we'll get to that when we get to it. But what do you think overall, Frank, of this team?
This is a very interesting pairing. I think their personalities are really going to... All three of their personalities are really going to mesh well together. Coy, very energetic. Stacy, again, has that pedigree of the entrances. And Winston, again, I think he's someone who likes the theatrics of the Schmoedown just like Stacy and Coy. And
He's got so much personality.
yeah. And...
I mean, it's crazy. He's got levels. There's levels to this, and he's mastered them.
He's great, and that's why I think him and Stacy are going to be a really good, entertaining team. But Stacy has very good knowledge, and I think Winston, he's very new to the league still this year, and I think he's pulled out some answers already this year. Just like, wow, really good stuff. And even in the past number one contenders match, he pulled out the Olivia Munn answer in the comic book category, which was pretty impressive. So I think he's got deceptive knowledge as well, and so it's going to be very interesting to see this team compete together, and I'm curious to see just how well they can do.
Olivia Munn, big fan.
I'm sure you are.
Big fan. Let's move on, though. Let's talk about this team. Whitney Seibold, who we've seen with William the Beast Bibiani, of course. They're going to be managed with Johnny LaQuasto, and then the other team member, Whitney's team partner in this, a guy named Mark Edward Hewick. Do I have that right?
Yeah, you do.
Mark Howard the Duck. Mark Howard the Duck,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, Mark Howard the Duck. Is it
He's
Hewick,
killing
though?
us
That's what
Hewick
I'm
today,
trying to
yeah.
figure out. Mark Edward Hewick. I'm not very
Movie geek.
familiar with this man.
Yeah.
So give me some background, guys.
Well, he's a geek about movies, and I think that's all you really need to be in the Schmoedown. So it looks like
Yeah.
it's a pretty good pairing.
He's a
Is
really
geek
good
an
pairing.
offensive word?
No.
Are we offended by geek?
Inner geekdom.
No. No.
Yeah,
Like
I know.
little
But, like, the
inner
whole league's not
geekdom.
offensive, right?
Oh yeah,
But
no,
inner geekdom. It's like inner.
Did you say it was
the-
dumb?
No, inner geekdom. Like it's inner.
Your inner geek is dumb. Is that what you're saying, Reno?
You know,
You say a lot of questionable
Janisch,
things today, Brad.
sometimes when you attempt funny, it's just nice to see the attempt. E for effort.
he's a really good film nerd, so I really enjoy this pairing a lot. It probably will mesh really well. Even though do either of you know him or no? Because he's actually
No.
a really good guy. Yeah, he's really smart.
No, but a man that I do know who will be their manager, their mouthpiece, Johnny LaQuasto, a.k.a. Jay Quasto, a.k.a. J-Lo. He is going to be the mouthpiece for the team, a man who recently celebrated a birthday. I think he turned 57 the other day, so happy birthday to Johnny LaQuasto. But
It is not 57.
Not
I'm
57.
kidding. Can y'all let it go under the radar? You know
I did
what
for a
mean?
little
Just
bit. I was
be-
like, wait, what?
let people just be like, oh wow, 57. He looks great. But anyway, happy belated to Johnny LaQuasto.
Yeah, and
Gotta be
Julian
interesting
Parks is
team.
38. I forgot. You're right.
Yeah. So he's the real MVP as well. So I don't really know how to break this team down because I don't know a lot about Mark Howard the Duck, but I do know that Whitney Seibold is a great competitor when we've seen him before, and Johnny LaQuasto, the man who's nearing senior citizen age, is very good at talking as well. So there's a cat behind me. Don't be
Wow.
distracted. And anyway, so let's move on to the next team here. As we move on, Eric Zipper, a guy that we talked about just a second ago. Get down, cat, damn you. A man that we talked about just a little bit ago. This shows I've lost control. It's off the rails.
It is,
A
yeah.
man that we talked about just a little bit ago, Eric Zipper, and Haley, who we saw this week
Yeah.
Scream Queens, she did well. They did well. I think that they did much better than they did their first time out. I think that they're a much better team than I first may have pegged them as. Going to be managed by Steele Saunders, a man who I know that you are a fan of, Frank Janisch.
Yeah, Steele is great. I love his insight and his talks, his podcasts about Star Wars. Again, he was in that Fatal 5-Way last year with Alex Damon and Sam and Scrimshaw and all them. And so it's interesting that he's coming back to be a manager because he is quite funny, if you remember from at least the Fatal 5-Way. And then with Eric Zipper, again, he's been very good this year. He's shown he can do an Inner Geekdom. He's very good with the teams, even though they just lost. Haley Fauci had a really good bounce-back performance this week, like you just said, Brad. Really good. So, 2 newbies to the league. Steele pretty much new as well. Interesting to see what's going to happen with this team and who they match up against in their first match this year.
I think their first matchup is really going to be a make or break for this team. I think if they get past that first match, I think that they could do well in this tournament. I think though, honestly, as great as they are in their respective teams, I think that they're teetering on a first round knockout here.
Well,
I mean, they could be a first round elimination type team if they get, somebody like, I don't know, one of the aforementioned teams that we made before, even a Josh McCouga, a Rachel Cushing and an Andrew Guy or something like that, they could be a first-round knockout.
Well, let's look at their strengths. Haley is more of the horror, thriller, I guess, centric type of competitor. Eric Zipper, Inner Geekdom, obviously, comic books, so they're on opposite sides of the spectrum in a sense. So
yeah, but what about everything else?
Well, I think Eric Zipper has shown in teams this year that he can cover a lot of ground, but he certainly does have his specialties. Haley Fausch, we just haven't seen that much of. Although we do know that her specialty is horror. She's on The Witching Hour with Perry Nemiroff, which is on Collider Podcast Network. And
Collider Podcast Network.
And so it's going to be interesting to see if they can get their strengths in their matches. They can be very dangerous.
We'll see. I have my doubts. I'm just going to throw it out there. I have my doubts about this team, but this next one is another one that's kind of a question mark. We've seen how this man sometimes performs in teams, and that is Scott Mantz. In Trek, he was very hit or miss. You could flip a coin to decide his ability that day, if he was going to be very good or very the opposite of good. But him with Sean Gerber, who we've seen also limited in the times we've seen him. He was in Inner Geekdom tournament. We've also seen him in teams.
And
right?
free-for-all.
And the free-for-all. Got a good base, right, of knowledge. I wouldn't say that he is Rookie of the Year caliber or anything like that, but who knows? These two could complement each other well. I think, though, this is probably one of the... I don't want to. I feel like I'm sounding mean, and I don't mean to. But this is like one of the less spectacular matchups. I'm not super excited to see these two together, but I'm hoping that they surprise me.
I think part of that has to do with how frequent they are in the league.
Right.
I think part of that has to do with
that's
that.
That's a great point.
But I think this team does still remind me of Trek as a whole, because I don't think Jason Immons and Sean Gerber's overall general movie-based knowledge is that much different. Even though we haven't seen a lot from Gerber, for some reason, I just feel like it, from what I've seen in Free For All and, again, Sean Gerber's team and Inner Geekdom performances, I feel like it's almost the same, even though, obviously, Inman is the Inner Geekdom champ, so there's no question there. But I feel like it's somewhat similar of a Trek situation still. So, you're right, if Mance is on, this team can do a lot of damage, and then who knows, if Sean gets hot, this again, we could see that Trek team that went on a run to a title shot. We could see, I think, that level of play. Don't know if it's going to pan out that way, because the teams that are in this tournament across the board are elevated in a way we haven't ever seen in this league. Oh,
yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be a tall task for this team especially. But let's talk about Alonso Duralde and Matt Atchity. Matt Atchity, of course, Rotten Tomatoes, MODOK. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this one either. Matt Atchie, of course, he's a marksman. I mean, he's a marksman. He's a guy who knows a lot about movies, obviously dedicating his life to that. Alonso Duralde in a similar vein. Do you think that they'll work well together?
I think this is the pairing that could be your above the line this year. This team could be your above the line this year. Alonso Duralde, Matt Atchie, these guys know their stuff. If any team that's kind of comes out of nowhere that forms for a tournament, this is the one that would be equivalent to above the line based on just their pedigree right now. So this is going to be a very interesting matchup or pairing, and then again into the tournament. Not a lot of people are going to face this team. No way.
Chris Clark, you seem like you had something to say about this one, so go ahead. What do you think about Alonso Duralde and Matt Atchie?
Well, look, this is literally What the Flick. Like, this is their show,
Sure.
What the Flick. This is kind of like the reincarnation of that team. Like, on Christian's carpool, like maybe a month or two ago, he was teasing that Alonso Duralde was going to remake What the Flick with a giant power player. Matt Atchie could have fit that void, and this is probably where they kind of put that idea in. I don't know, but this seems very cool, because it's interesting, because I think Kalinowski or Thad, one of them said that he was formerly of MODOK. Did you catch that?
They said in the sense
Well,
that
I think
all the
that
teams
means-
are broken up. Yeah.
Okay, so MODOK is still
Right,
together,
right.
as we know. Okay, so I mean, this could be permanent. We don't know, but this is going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Well,
It could be the makings of a new faction. You never know.
it
Go
could
ahead,
be.
Frank.
you bring up the fact, Chris, that this could be a new team because I think Christian has said on his carpool or maybe elsewhere that if teams come out of this tournament liking their performance, they may not go back to their previous team. They may stick together. It's not a guarantee, but it's a possibility.
Could. Yeah.
And I think that it's okay. Look, there are 18 teams or something like that.
16.
16 teams. It's very likely.
I
it
think
is
we would
very
see
likely.
some stick together.
I think we'll see some. No. I think we see some. Yeah, I think we see some from the tournament stick
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
And I think we see some previous teams obviously remain the same as well. But I think that it's more likely than not that we're going to see new teams after this tournament. And I'm excited to see it. Let's talk about Lon Harris JTE.
Ooh.
I think this is another dark horse. You know what? This is why I love the Anarchy so much, because it has opened the door to so many potential teams to take this thing. There's so many teams who could go on a very, 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 very deep run. There's so many teams that could win this. There's so many teams that I could see being team champion. That's why I really have enjoyed all these teams so far. And there's another one, Lon Harris JT. JT, of course, one half of the greatest team champions of all time. Lon Harris, a guy who's been very impressive. Who could forget, Frank, that match that you and I saw in person against Cody Hall, which was just such a barn burner of a match. So I like this pairing a lot, and I think these two are going to do really well together.
I'm excited to see this team hopefully go far, because any tournament with JTE is amazing. As we saw last year in the singles tournament, Lon Harris is a great player in this league. Even though he's had limited opportunities, he's shown just how good he can be. I mean, is Lon Harris an upgrade from Jeff Snyder? I'll let you guys be the judge of that one. I don't know. Because with that being said, they could go on a huge, deep tournament run. JTE has been through it all. He's been through it all. And,
Absolutely.
I mean, you cannot discount that kind of experience when you're in a pressure-packed situation week after week or match after match like you would be in this tournament, because, like we've been saying, these teams all across the board are at such an elevated level like we've never seen. You're going to want someone like JTE, who's been in nothing but pressure-packed situations for like a year and a half. Like, this is just another, dare I say it, a walk in the park for JTE in terms of pressure. And you have someone like Lon to lean on. Whew, I'm really excited about this team.
Lean on me. Yeah, that's exactly what he's going to do. I think this team, like I said, it could go very, very deep. Let's talk about this next team, though. Whew. We've talked about a lot of teams that we think can make a deep run. I've actually changed my pick of who's going to win the whole thing several times over, and I'm about to do it again. Dan Murrell is going to be teamed with one of his 5 horseman compatriots. Dan Murrell and John Roca are a team in the Ultimate Schmoedown Anarchy Tournament. Holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a dream team in more ways than one. You got to think about the history of this team. You know, when Larry Bird joined forces with Magic Johnson on that dream team in the Olympics, you know, they had to put a lot behind them, right? I mean, this is, you know, they've taken championships out of each other's grasps, right? They've prevented the other from becoming champion. And then they had to team together. And John Roca and Dan Murrell have a history in the singles league.
Yeah.
Some
Just like
people were
that.
surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like that. And some people were surprised when Dan Murrell made his return and was aligned with the Five Horsemen. You know, he was the fifth of the five.
Yeah.
And although his singles return did not go as expected, I think that he is setting himself up, and John Roca, they are setting themselves up for, as Booker T might say, champagne wishes and caviar dreams. I see
It's amazing.
championships.
Oh my god.
I see championships in their future.
That is an amazing saying. Is that a bumper sticker? It should be.
It should be.
This matchup of teammates, faction mates, is I mean, you thought the possibility of Dan Murrell and Mark Riley teaming up was going to happen, right? That's what,
Right.
because they were previously team champs in the 2015 tournament. But now you got Dan Murrell and John Roca. It's just as good.
If not better.
Pick your. I mean, you're not wrong
Yeah.
for saying either one is better than the other.
Right,
It's
right.
that close, right? But the fact is, Dan Murrell, the greatest player of all time, is in a team tournament for the first time ever. In a team tournament, actually, the first time ever in a tournament. He was never in any tournament because he was champ for so long. He didn't play in the first one that kicked off at Collider.
Yep.
Ultimately faced off against Ellis in the Spectacular, and then blah blah blah. Now he's on a team with John Roca. This is gonna be a lot of pressure for them to win. Quite frankly, gonna have to deal with
Absolutely.
a lot
I
of
think
pressure.
they're the team to beat. You know, it's their tournament to lose.
Yeah, because
in
you have
my-
Dan
in my
Murrell,
opinion.
John Roca. Exactly, they're the team to beat, and whether that's fair or unfair, I don't know. But based on their pedigree, because these are former champs, Roca champ in 2 leagues, Dan Murrell has one of the longest reigning singles run in terms of, well, at least singles title matches at least. Yeah, not going to be. I mean, some of these. I know a lot of people were talking about all these super teams. I don't like some of these super teams. Blah blah blah. I don't know. Like, all of these teams are like super teams to me for the most part. This one is just a hair above the rest, if you ask me, and that's saying a lot.
mean-
That's saying a lot.
This is Kevin Durant joining Steph Curry for the Warriors.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
this is what it is.
Yeah.
This is Triple
But
H
is
aligning with
Roca
Stone Cold
KD,
Steve
or
Austin.
who's KD in that scenario? Is Roca
Well,
KD?
KD's more emotional. So I'm gonna say
Roca?
John Roca,
Yeah.
and that's no disrespect at all. I mean, this is Triple H joining forces with Stone Cold Steve Austin and forming the 2-man power trip. This is a team to be reckoned with. Chris Clark, I want to get your analysis of John Roca and Dan Murrell.
This is perfection under the multitude of stars that it comes down upon. Just because this seems a little too perfect. It's great. I know Christian has confirmed that some of the teams weren't randomly chosen. I wouldn't be surprised if this was one, but this is actually fantastic, both from a theatrical perspective, just because the live event is now just going to have that much juice.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
also a lot of pressure. I really actually am concerned, and this is a legitimate concern, that since Dan sadly didn't have as good of a return as he would have probably wished, if he were to lose the thing at the live event, I
Don't
hope
even
that
say it, Chris.
I don't hope that I hope he doesn't retire again.
Oh my God.
But other than that, I foresee these guys going so far, and if for whatever reason they do lose to Winston and Stacy at the live event, that is going to be hands down LA is going to be on fire. LA is going to be on fire.
God.
People are going to be rioting in the streets. It's going to be chaos. And you know what? It's going to be anarchy, the theme of the Schmoedown. So even if that does happen, it's still a nice little bow. And you know what? This team is going to just put a bullet in everything.
You
So,
thought like the fan
one way or
reaction
another.
of Andrew Guy beating Dan Murrell was insane. I honestly think Devin Stewart and
Winston and Stacy.
Stacy toppling Merle and Roca. Jesus.
it's going to be interesting.
I don't even like that y'all are floating that possibility.
I don't
Let
like
me
it
honestly.
either, Brad. I don't like it either.
It's cool to
It makes
But
think
me
we
about.
have
very
to.
uncomfortable.
We have to in this day and age when Andrew Guy has beaten Dan Murrell. We have no choice now.
Well, Andrew Guy is going to be the champion, so it's all going to make sense here in a few months. But let's go to our next team here, because I think this is also a very powerful team. When we talk about champions, when we talk about championship caliber teams, this is one right here, Drew McQueenie, who just relinquished the team championships along with Sam Levine and Above the Line. He has been teamed with classy Clark Wolf of the Shire Wolves. Now, this, of course, is a team that we may never see take the floor in the Schmoedown studio there, but it is possible. So what do you think, Frank Janisch, about Drew McQueenie and Clark Wolf?
It's an insane team up. I don't think it's going to happen because I really do think Shire Wolves will beat whoever, they're facing off against. Exactly, we know Brienne, but man, if this would be a hell of a team. Holy crap! I mean, this is like a sliver below Roca Merle. I mean, for real,
Right.
You know, I mean, I'm trying to look at the roster here and see who would take Clark's place. I mean, is it possible that Mark Bernardin could get called up?
What if Sam Levine comes back?
Dude, that would be so shady.
I've got it. Drew McQueenie and his teammate could be a man with parental supervision, Linus Babcock. Let's just float it out there. Why not?
And they call
Why
the
not?
team parental supervision.
Yeah. Parental
wow.
supervision. Parental guidance is advised. But, I don't think we're going to see this team hit the floor, which is sad because I also really want to see Rachel Cushing and Andrew Guy team up together. But I think that Drew McQueenie, obviously you have to look at him very seriously no matter who he's partnered with because this is a guy who's been to the mountaintop. This guy who did it, who defended, who they dethroned the greatest champions of all time, and then they beat him again. So he's definitely got to be high up there in any bracket, no matter who his teammate is, especially if his teammate is Clark Wolf. Clark Wolf's somebody who's been there, who's going to have a shot at the tag championships, who's had a shot at the singles championship twice, I believe. Rookie of the year, player of the year before.
She was in a team title match, I mean.
Right. She's got all the makings. She's got all the makings there. So I think this is a team that you'd have to consider. But unfortunately, I really do think that the Shire Wolves are going to take those team championships.
I know, it's weird because I would kind of like to see this team up along with Rachel and Andrew. I would like to see those team ups.
Absolutely,
but,
yeah.
At the cost of them losing a title.
I know. I want to see them be champions too.
Yeah.
I want to see Clark and Rachel win their first championships in the Schmoedown together. I think it's so fitting on so many levels. So I hope that it happens. And at the same time, if it doesn't happen, I'll be sad for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then realize I'm going to get these awesome teams in the Anarchy tournament. So those are our teams, guys. Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go around the room one more time. We're going to all pick our candidate to take it all. I'm going to pick a candidate to take it all. Start with Chris Clark. Who you got?
Easily, not surprising. It's probably going to be Matt Nost and Bibiani. I would take Whitney's team with a team that Rob is managing, but Bibbs and Nost, I think, objectively have this in the can.
Frank Janisch. Who you got?
I want to say Roca Merle, but what I'm really going to say is Riley Bateman.
Oh. Okay, and I'm going to go with the obvious pick of Roca Merle. I just think that they're the team to beat. They're the team to beat. Speaking of teams, I say even though we're going a little long already, let's just talk briefly about both of the team matches that we saw. We've alluded to them both already. Frank, let's talk first about Only Stupid Answers versus the Scream Queens. I thought that the Scream Queens showed us a lot more this time around than they did in their debut. In their debut, I was ready to write them off. I'm going to be honest with you. I was like, okay, next. But this time around, wow, did they bring their A game. I thought that they were much, much better. They didn't have a Christopher Nolan category, which definitely helped them out a lot. But they definitely gelled more, and maybe it was just getting that first match out of the way, get it under their belt, and then they were ready to move forward, and move forward they did.
You know, Haley had a great match here. Scream Queens as a whole had a pretty solid match. That second round with Nicole Kidman, it was great.
Well, yeah. Who would have thought, though? Who would have thought when Nicole Kidman was on that wheel, and let alone it was landed on, anybody would say, yeah, give me Nicole Kidman, and then kick ass in it.
It's actually a really good call because it's never been pulled in round 2, so the questions are going to be fairly surface level, if you will. The one thing I will say, though, is I'm concerned about Kaylin's performance in the first round. Only 2 points. Not good. I don't know if this is going to be a repetitive thing for Kaylin, because I think she had 5 her debut match, if I remember correctly, and she did. To go down to 2, I don't know. That's not a great look. So, but the thing is, I know Haley was somewhat touted as being really good, I think, if I remember correctly, and for her to show up and put up 7 points in this first round, great to see. But again, I hope Kaylin can kind of rebound again from this match whenever they have a next match, whenever that might be. But it was overall a good showing from Scream Queens. Yeah.
Yeah, and Only Stupid Answers, they gave some stupid answers, but,
yeah.
not exclusively stupid answers. They did okay, right? What was the final score, Janisch? Do you have your stats?
Yeah, it was 21 to
20.
21 to 20.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, I mean, it wasn't like they got blown out.
Yeah, Only Stupid Answers. I think they're up and down team. They really did crush new releases for 10 points, or 9 points, and they got a 1 point steal. But so it was good to see that they could do really well in a round 2 category. Round 1 still a bit concerning, although DJ seems to be the stronger of the two. He got 5 points. Sam only had 2. So, again, Kaylin getting 2 didn't hurt as much because Sam got 2. So they run into another team, Scream Queens. They're going to have some problems if Kaylin has another performance like that, or if Haley regresses, all that kind of stuff, right? But Only Stupid Answers, they're a very entertaining team, I think. Again, we've talked about this before, at least I have said, that there seems to be like this lower rung of teams with Kingsman, Wildberries, not so much, although you could sign up, but then you have Only Stupid Answers, and so they're like this bottom rung, but not quite, can't get over the hump. We'll see if they have another match, but it was a very enjoyable match for the most part, and it was a close match at the end. It was 21-20, so.
Yeah, I mean, 1 point differential there. So we could see 3 of these people potentially be alternates in the
This is a good
Anarchy
point,
tournament.
Yeah.
So,
I would
look out for them.
I would love to see DJ Woolridge as an alternate. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, he could very well make his way into the tournament. And like I said, I actually really enjoyed this match overall, and I thought it was a good team match, and I like that the Scream Queens are on the right path. They're on the right trajectory. I wonder, though, will they survive as a team after the Anarchy tournament? We're going to have to find out in the coming months. But let's also discuss the second match of the week. We've already talked about it a lot before. World's Finest, a team who was 2-0 and then got a number 1 contender's opportunity. And then when Andrew Guy defeats Dan Murrell, you don't want to give him a title shot out of the gate. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not here to debate that anymore.
It was one match.
But he beat the GOAT. Anyway, yeah, you do. Your face is different. Anyway, they went against Shire Wolves. Shire Wolves, obviously a deserving team when it comes to championship caliber matches. They've been impressive out of the gate, especially at the live event, the last live event against Team Action. And you know how much I love Team Action, but these two ladies are in it to win it, and win it they did. What did you think overall of this match, Frank Janisch?
First round, 14 points. Clark talked about it in her post-match interview. She thinks the first round is the most important match, or the most important round. And for team leagues, I 100% agree. There's, a ton of points to be had in the first round, and Rachel and Clark both scored 7 points. And Eric and Winston, they had 10, which is not bad. They're only 1 point off the league average, which is 11. And you're still down by 4 points, even though you have a pretty solid first round. That's tough. Like, when you go up against a great team like Shirewolves, who puts up 14 almost effortlessly, and it was weird to see Rachel miss the Men in Black question, the Vincent D'Onofrio. She got it mixed up with Tony Shalhoub. I thought she would have had that one. She would have had a perfect round then, but that wasn't the case.
Yeah. Tony Shalhoub, of course, was in Men in Black 2, right? Was he in 1 and 2?
Yeah, he was the first one. He was Frank.
He was in 1 and 2.
It's not Frank the dog. He was
He's the pawn
shopkeeper.
shop guy.
Yeah, the pawn.
Yeah.
When you blow his head and it grows back and all that.
Is that in both of them, or is he in just one of them, or is he in both of them?
The first one for sure, and I think the second one as well.
All right. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, but so Rachel could have had a perfect round there, but I mean they just did really well in the first round, and that carries them through the rest of the match, and they can take some opportunities like we saw them in Oscars. I thought, although I feel like they kind of played it a little safe, but it was to their benefit because they had to go to multiple choice on their first and sixth question. And they were lucky that they only got burned for 1 point, and especially in a match like this. But in Oscar categories, again, just a great spin of the wheel by Clark to give strength of Rachel's, and I would think also somewhat a strength of Clark's. And then World's Finest with comic book movies. I mean, they got strength for strength in this match, which is a good sign, which you want to see in a number one contenders match or any kind of high profile match. You want to see strength for strength in the second round, and we got that. So we got a really good showing. But unfortunately, World's Finest, as Mark Ellis said, crapped the bed, although he used a different word. They crapped the bed there, going 0 for 3. And that was disappointing because you heard them talk about in the post-match that they knew each other's questions. And their 2 and 3-pointer, they didn't know the 5. So you never know what could have happened had it gone back to Shirewolves. Could have made for a much more intense match. And perhaps World's Finest pulls that out. I don't know. But now we'll never know.
Yeah, I mean, I really can't say much more than what you just said there. You broke the match down quite expertly, Frank. Sometimes you earn your keep around here. But I do think that sometimes it's just sometimes you got to play the cards you're dealt. And, they weren't dealt the best cards when it came to the third round.
That 5-pointer for World's Finest, that's not really that hard of a 5-point question.
And remind people what the 5-pointer was.
What was the embassy that they had to go to in Argo? And it was the Canadian embassy. And it's like a pretty big focal point of the movie because they spent a lot of the time in the Canadian embassy because that's where they're trapped at. And so it was, and you could see on Eric's face, at least in the cut, that he was disappointed he couldn't pull it because it seems like he knew it when he heard Rachel say it was the Canadian embassy. So he seemed pretty disappointed in that one because that's a pretty easy, relatively speaking, I thought, an easy 5-pointer that they could have gotten. But
absolutely, but we're going to see the Shirewolves go against Breanne Chandler, who once again is cashing in her ability to challenge for any championship. She is going to have a mystery partner against the Shirewolves. Now, I've seen rumors as to who it could be. People have said Mike Kalinowski. People have said Stacey Howard. All great choices. If you had to pin the tail on this mystery donkey, Frank, who do you think it is?
I haven't really given it a lot of thought, actually. That's wow. I really don't know. I really have. I mean, I almost kind of want to see it be Drew McWeeny, just because he would never have another crack at the belt so soon after he was, quote unquote, forced to give up the belts. For him to get another crack at it this way would be pretty interesting, and that match, all of a sudden, is holy crap.
That's true. That is true. I didn't think about Drew McQueenie. I'm leaning more toward Mike Kalinowski. I'm leaning more toward him just because he's been pulling so many strings. Maybe he finally got through to Breanne Chandler and he convinced her.
I will say this. I don't think it's anybody that's been drawn as a team right now in the tournament. I don't think it's going to be... Right, it wouldn't make sense. That's why, I would love for it to be Drew, but I don't think it's going to be. And I don't think it's going to be anybody that was picked as into a team for on Friday's video. So, who's outside of that? It could be a new person. I don't.
Chris, do you have any kind of guess?
Well, I was going to say that it really wouldn't make sense to be anybody in the Anarchy, but the teams are being separated anyway. Mm-hmm. So you could see one of the managers. We could see Denizen or somebody who's not in the pool right now. It could be.
That'd be interesting.
I don't think it's going to. Well, I'll tell you who I don't think it's going to be. I don't actually think it's going to be Kalinowski whatsoever, just because it seems too obvious, and I don't think that would kind of defeat the purpose of the surprise if it was just Kalinowski. It wouldn't seem very theatrical to me. From a theatrical standpoint, it should be something spontaneous, off the cuff, somebody that we don't know. It could be anybody. It could be your cat that hopped in the episode earlier. It could be anybody. I don't know. So
Patrick Campbell.
It's
Patrick
it could be
Campbell.
Pat.
It could be Patrick Campbell.
It's Pat.
He's right down the road.
It's Pat.
You know what, Breanne? If you're still trying to figure out who it could be, or if you have not selected your mystery partner yet, although we're pretty sure that you have, and you need an alternate, I'm going to throw my name out there. Why the hell not?
Yeah, why not? Hey,
not?
Yeah.
What do you have to lose?
What do you have
really.
to lose? You know what? I heard a guy say that once, and anyways.
Oh, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Moving right along from that. Anywho, I think that about does it, though, for us this week on the Schmoedown Rundown. Frank, why don't you let people know where they can follow you and find you, and let them know that Schmoedown site that you have.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at FrankieJ29, and the stats site. Chris, thanks for putting it up on the screen, because I don't really remember. And
sites,
go there.
I'll tell you what it is.
Oh, what is it?
sites.google.com//:hyphen_Schmoedown 124 kitty 5617.
Is that your password?
All right, Chris Clark, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChrisClark8788. Those numbers mean nothing. You can find me on YouTube at Take 3 Productions, and you can also find me every Saturday producing this show on the newly rebranded Collider Podcast Network on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe. Even though it's on Podcast One, the videos are also really cool, so make sure you check those out as well.
I'd prefer you see the videos so you can look at my and Frank's faces and Chris Clark as well. Why don't you just get to know us on a personal level? You can find me on all social media at Brad Gilmore. Make sure you follow the Schmoedown on Twitter at SchmoedownRD and on Instagram at Schmoedown Rundown. Go to Facebook, search it. You'll find it there as well. For Frank Janisch, for Chris Clark on the Collider Podcast Network, this is the Schmoedown Rundown. I am Brad Gilmore, and we will see you all next week.